One of the things that was really important to me to do in this book was to present the whole man. And none of us is perfect. And sometimes it's nice to be reminded that other people are also imperfect, just like you and me. Too often, I think we're given heroes and they're put on a pedestal and they're like amazing, they're a genius, they're the best at this, the best at that. And actually, what I found so interesting, as I interviewed people for the book, the scientists who trained Joep were like, he wasn't the best scientist I ever had. The doctors I worked with are like, he was a good doctor. He wasn't the best physician I ever trained. And I was like, wait a minute. This was a man who changed the world. This was a man who saved lives. And yet he wasn't the best at any one thing. That's inspiring to me. The message is that you have to do something, not just that you can. Joep showed us that you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to follow ideas with action. Because he could have had the brilliant ideas that he had and just kind of squandered them or not followed up. But he was also such a doer. That's really interesting to me. A big thinker, but also someone who implemented things. And what I also discovered about him that was interesting is he'd get really fired up around a new program, a new innovative way to deal with maybe health insurance in a developing world country, and he'd work on it for months, and then he'd be like, okay team, everyone good? Because I have to go now. And he'd make sure that those people were set to carry on that work, but then he was on to the next idea and putting it into action. Joep spoke his mind, so I think he was very honest in a dishonest world. We're used to people being very polite and kind and respectful. We're trained like that, whether you're a scientist, a doctor, whatever field you're in. He just spoke his mind. And to me, that was really powerful because it meant that when he saw injustice, he wasn't all polite and demure about it. He was like, I've seen this thing. What you are saying is wrong. This is racist. This is discriminatory. This is stupid. It doesn't make sense. That is so refreshing to me. We currently have leaders who lie to us all the time. All the time. So Joep is inspiring to me as a truth teller. Sometimes that translated to being a bit unkind. We're not impatient enough. I'm not impatient enough. I also think we're not angry enough. The Lancet released a report just a few days ago about complacency around HIV, and I think even some people in the HIV world have that. So I worry that we're not raging enough, that we're not angry enough, that we're not impatient enough. I worry about us just sitting on our laurels thinking, this HIV thing, it's been around 37 years. Gosh, that's crazy. And it's a chronic manageable disease, but it's not. I mean, million people dying. We need to be impatient about finding a cure and looking for a vaccine. And oftentimes outside of the HIV world, I don't even see those conversations or those questions being asked anymore. Where's the cure? Where's the vaccine? I want impatience around that. And Joep would have still had that. Read the book because it gives you an insight into the whole man. A man who was impatient, who was kind, who would shout at people because he felt like they weren't working fast enough against HIV. Read it to be inspired and to realize that you don't have to be perfect to make a difference.